Hello and welcome back to the TurboWare channel. In this video, I will explain why did the first era of muscle cars ended. So we need to travel back to the 1970s. A different time, maybe a better time, hard to tell. Maybe those of you who have lived through those times can leave your opinion in the comments. The muscle cars are at their peak. They have huge V8 engines, high performance values, and basically every major manufacturer in the US is offering at least one model. We have the Chargers, we have the Mustangs, the Camaros, the Chevels, and the party is going on. Drag strips are busy, everyone is enjoying the cheap gas and the fun engines. Sadly, as every party, this had to end too. The death of the muscle car can be attributed to two main factors. One of these was a geopolitical one, and the other one was a law passed by the American Congress itself. So it's the 1970s, and emission regulations are basically non existing. This leads to a terrible air quality in major American cities. In LA, in New York City, in Boston, in Detroit, the air is filled with exhaust gases and the smoke is choking the people. The Congress decides to act. So in 1970, the first big environmental act focusing at exhaust gases is passed. This is the so-called Clean Air Act of 1970, which mandates manufacturers to a 90% reduction, a huge number, 90% by 1975. So basically, the manufacturers had 5 years to figure out how to decrease the emission of their cars by this staggering number. But the party maybe could have gone forward if not another factor. In 1973, the Yom Kippur War has started. This was one of the many Arab-Israeli conflicts which are still going on even today. And during this conflict, the OPEC countries, which were the oil producing countries, mainly in the Middle East, decided to put an oil embargo on countries which were supporting Israel. Among them was, of course, the United States. This embargo meant in the short run a fuel crisis. There were lines for fuel. There were even some regulations that you could only go to the gas station or odd or even days based on the license plate of your car. So this was a huge problem in the short term, but it was also a long-term problem. Fuel prices doubled. Before the oil embargo, fuel was around 36 or 37 cents per gallon. Adjusted for inflation, this is $2.50. It's 2023 dollars. It's a bit different now. But after the crisis uh, had gone, the prices stayed still high. We are talking about a 35% increase only in 1974, and this continued. So during this crisis, people realized that cars which did 10 or 9 miles per gallon were not the ideal everyday solution for their transportation needs. And already by this time, smaller, more efficient cars were on the market. Let's say the Toyotas, the Fiats, the 127, or the Volkswagen Beetle. But circling back to the Clear Air Act, car manufacturers had to act. So what could they do? First of all, they needed to install catalytic converters, which required unleaded fuel. This meant a higher price fuel in an environment where fuel prices were already high. They also decided to reduce compression. As we all know, internal combustion engines basically compress the air fuel mixture, then there is a bang and we have power and fun. Decreasing the compression ratio meant decreased horsepower figures, and basically they also detuned the engine, sometimes by 50%. As an example, a 1975 Chevrolet Camaro produced only 145 horsepower, while a 1969 car could produce 375. So basically, we had the two main factors. Fuel was more expensive, much more expensive, and environmental norms meant you needed to decrease the horsepower. So slowly the muscle cars started to fade. But it seems the US Congress around this time period really liked to kick Detroit's butt. So in 1974, new safety regulations were mandated, which meant additional weight, around 300 plus pounds for the cars from 1975. Best thing for a sporty car. You have more weight, but less horsepower. What could go wrong? Well, the market started to turn away. Maybe you think that okay, new cars were not as present, but muscle cars were a thing. Surely young people jumped on the possibility to buy cheap as muscle cars when the adults were dropping them. Well, you would think that, and initially they did. And what can go wrong? You have young lads with no driving experience in a strong car with basically no safety equipment. Well, people started to die, and we are in the age of capitalism. More debt meant more money to be paid out for insurers. So, of course, car insurance went up. As an example, if you owned a 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle, you needed to pay around $300 to insure it in 1975. If you had a Toyota Corolla, you needed to pay $100. Also, some states mandated special insurance for high performance vehicle. For example, in New York, you had a supercharger surcharge, which meant that muscle cars lost their buyers even in the young audience. And this was shown in the numbers, and it was shown drastically. As an example, in 1966, Mustang sold 600,000 Mustangs. It is really hard for me to imagine it in today's environment that Mustangs were running around everywhere, but yeah, they sold 600,000 cars. In 1975, they have sold 63,000 Ford Mustangs. And this is only one example. By 1975, V8 powered car sales had dropped 55% compared to 1970. That's a drastic change. And basically, after 1975 or from 1975, the American car industry entered the malaise era with mediocre cars and cars which were really not much to look at. I would say this was the start of Detroit's downfall. But in the early 2000s, luckily for us petrolheads, the muscle car category got resurrected. And more or less, it had a 20-year renaissance running all the way to 2023 with cars like the Dodge Challengers and Dodge Chargers, the new Camaro, the Ford Mustangs. And I think this is also thanks to Hollywood. For example, the Transformers movies meant that every kid wanted a yellow Chevrolet Camaro, even here in Europe. But today we see the new death of muscle cars. Basically, the only standing muscle car, funnily enough, is the muscle car which survived even the Melee era. It's the Ford Mustang. We can hate the Mustang if we want, or we can hate Ford or love Ford. They are the memes about Mustang drivers. But one thing is certain, they have both. Even now in this era of greenness and reduce emissions and so on, electric cars are saving the planets and so on and so on. Ford still produces the Mustang. Dodge is producing an electric Charger, Challenger. Basically, they combine the two cars into one, but it's an electric one. Eh, you can get a six-cylinder turbo engine in it. The Camaro is dead. The Cuda is dead. The Chevelle is dead, but the Mustang is still going strong and it's even outselling its electric cousin. So I think the people have spoken and the market have shown what it wants. So this was basically my short summary of the reasons why muscle cars died in the 70s. If you enjoyed the video, please like it. And if you have any thoughts or comments, please let us know below. I wish all of you a nice day and see you soon.